am going to be breaking down this video when Trump was so-called reading from the scriptures in the White House the other day. You do know that they took our books, rewrote them after they burned them, right? And they put the name of Lucifer all over the scriptures, the book of the law. That's why these witches and warlocks could use the Bible, because it has the devil's name, because these Luciferians and fallen angels and demons cannot say the name of Jehovah or his son, because it makes them tremble. They cannot pronounce it. They can't say it. Anyway, so I'm going to break this down. So in 2025, that's when there was the year of the Jubilee. That's when the lands returned back to the red nations. And that's when they started campaigns to go after the red nations, because only the Hispanic community is the only community that is not allowed to live anywhere, because they're bothering them in Canada, North and South America. This is the same area that was colonized. So, okay, so right now, what he did in this reading is the rededication to Satan again. When they came into our lands, they made this nation Satan's nation. So let's break this down. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Finish the house of the Lord and the king's house.
Excuse me, let me restart that, okay? Because he talks about King Solomon.
Thus Solomon finished the house of the Lord and the king's house. And all.
Okay, so he speaks to King Solomon. You do know that when he's talking about King Solomon, that's when King Solomon started to worship the demon and started to work with the demons and Satan. That's why he lost the northern kingdom. And it was the northern kingdom was taken from him because he started to work with the demons and with Satan. This is what he's talking about, King Solomon.
That came into Solomon's heart to make in the house of the Lord, and in his.
You see the house of the Lord, because the Lord is Baal.
His own house he prosperously effected. And the Lord appeared to Solomon by night and said to him, I have heard your prayer and have chosen this place to myself for a house of sacrifice.
You see, a house of sacrifice.
If I shut up heaven, that there be no rain, or if I command the locusts to devour the land, or if I send pestilence.
Okay, so the locust, I covered the locust before. And the Pope is the head locust. I covered that before.
Among my people, if my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways.
Okay, so when he says my people, they're called by my name, we're going to break this down, because daddy's children are not Christians. Christian is for Krishna, and he is the what? A Jesuit after Jesus, because that is not Jahusha's name either. So we're going to break this down.
Then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Now my eyes shall be open and my ears attent.
Okay, that's enough of that. So anyway, so what he's doing with this, he wants you guys to come into agreement with him. This agreement means that he wants all the Christians for Christendom to come together and be okay to do to us what they did to us when they first got here. Because our children went into Christian homes, Christian boarding schools. They were sacrificed, and they killed our buffaloes. That's why he wants to kill our buffaloes again. And they go into reservations and taking the people from the reservations and the Latin community, Latinos, which is still the same people. We're the red nations. That's why, again, they're going to Canada, North and South America, because the Crusaders, that's where they went. They went to North and South America. This is a rededication that they want you to come into agreement that to repeat history again, to go after the red nations, genocide them, take their lands, and enslave them again. This is what he wants, because he's rededicating America again to Satan. Why? Because the 400 years are up. They're up. That's why the Pope said that we had to give them back their lands on 2025, and during the year of the Jubilee, where everything goes back to the rightful owners of the land. So if you kill the rightful owners of the land, you stay with the land, because they don't want to get rid of the land. So I will be including these images and these articles as well. So it tells you right here, Donald Trump rededicating prayer event. Why? Because he's rededicating the nation again to Lucifer. That's the Statue of Liberty, the light bearer, right? She also goes by Colombia. Okay, the Jubilee year, that was on 2025. That's when all the owners, the original owners of the lands, their lands returned right back to them. That was in 2025. Okay, this is the District of Columbia again, because he also goes by Colombia. They runs this matrix: Washington D.C., City of London, Vatican, Honeycomb, Earth. Daddy said that he would take us to the land of milk and honey, the promised land. Well, that's Utah. Mount Zion is on Utah. That's why they call it the honeycomb state. And when the Southern Kingdom, which was the last kingdom to fall, the Southern Kingdom, that's when they took over that area, that territory. So who is the beekeeper? Because now they got both kingdoms at this point. They have the Northern and the Southern Kingdom. So the beekeeper is the Pope and the government. That's why they have motifs of beehives in Freemasonry and all over the Vatican. Because the Pope is the keeper of the beehives, and we are the bees inside the beehive. And he should gather the dispersed from Jehudah from the four corners of the earth. So this is the four corners of the earth. So this is the map, the real map of America, right? So this is Babylon. The west coast is Jerusalem. That's Israel. Yasharal, excuse me. And that's the four corners. And that's where they're going right now. And they're harassing the red nations. You have Utah, where Daddy's Sacred Mountain is. Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico. And you see the beehive in Freemasonry. You see the Pope, the tiara is a beehive. It's all over St. Peter's Basilica, the bees, because we're the bees and the beehive. The beekeeper, I will be sharing his guy's video. And he talks about King Solomon, right? In his prayer service, King Solomon. Well, you see, the kingdom of Solomon, due to his idolatry, was taken away from him. This is when he started to worship the devil, right? And his demons. And Queen Sheba was the one they helped to break the kingdom of Solomon up, because she was the one, she was Ethiopian, and she worshiped Baal. So she got him to do it, and that's why he lost the northern kingdom. So when Trump is talking about King Solomon in the house, he's referring to that one, to the black magic that he does. You see, the keys of Solomon, occult ritual magic. You see, demons and exorcism. He's not talking about Yahuwah. He's talking when he started to serve who? The demons. Explain in the reading of Galatians 4 that these Abrahamic religions work together. They work together. They Saturn worship. So you see, it tells you right here, Queen Sheba corrupted Solomon, split, united Yasharal. And it tells you right here, you see, Islam was created by them in 632 AD to kill the innocent. You see, this is Luciferian idolatry. They all work together, and they also created Christendom, because they all work together. It's one giant demon. When he says Lord, you see, Lord is for Baal worship, and Amen is for Amenrod. You see, and when he says God, the God of this nation, is for Gadriel. You see, this is the definition for that, for Gadriel, and that's what that means. Again, I will be sharing these images with you guys. That's where it says, in God we trust, the God of fortune, Gadriel. That's what it is. Why you think they have a ton of money. And he also goes by many names. You see, he is the sun god. He is the moon goddess. He plays both roles, the father and the son. Because the father, he plays the father and the mother. That's what he does. Because the Ruach is the mother. In Israel, you see, is for Isis, Ra, and El. Because it's Joshua, not Israel. That's why he's always defending Israel, because this is the Trinity, the demonic Trinity. Again, you will find that in the reading of 1 Maccabees, that our books were taken burned and rewritten. And that's when they put the name of the devil all over the books, you see? So instead of Lord is, so Adonai, have mercy on Joshua, the people who are known by your name. So Daddy's people will be known by his name. And the devil's people will be known by their name. That's your Jesuits after Jesus. So you see, we're Joshua with an A-L, not an E-L. Again, I will be sharing these images, guys. So this is Israel is for Isis, Ra, and El. We are Jahudins because Daddy's Yahuwah. We're Jahudins. We're known by his name. So we're not Christian. You know, we're not. That's for Krishna. You see, Yahuwah and Yahushua. I call him my father's name. Yahuwah, Yahushua. And the founding fathers, from the founding fathers to the recent ones, have always been Luciferian. They're Masons. They're Freemasons. George Washington, they've always been Freemasons. Down to Trump, they're all Freemasons. And you see, he is a graduate from Loyola, which is a Jesuit school. Jesuits, as the son, that's their God. Jesus, Jesuit, right? Well, I'm going to break this down. Who also is a Jesuit graduate? Fauci, the one behind the vaccine, right? Yeah, I'm going to share that with you too. So you see how they also created Christendom. That happens to be Saturnalia, your Christmas. And it tells you right there that it was for Esau, the Jewish sun god, and Christ for Krishna. And they put Julius Caesar's initials there. So instead of a K for Krishna, is C for Caesar, Julius Caesar, Jesus Christ. Because the J was not invented till 1524. So before that, it was known as what? He was known as Jesus, the Druid god, right? They will kill his people and hang them on trees that you like to put your Christmas trees up, right? On Christmas, on Nimrod's birthday. So the sun god's birthday, Jupiter, another name that he goes by, and Zeus, his birthday happens to be what? On December 25th. That's your Jesus. Remember, then later on, they added the J for Julius Caesar's, and that's when he became Jesus Christ. I will share all this article with you as well. So when they said that Trump is a Jesuit, yeah, because they're known by their name. They worship, this is who it is. He goes by many names. Zeus, Jesus, Jupiter, Saturn. He goes by many names. You see? And during the Constantine Creed, if you read it, the Constantine Creed, it tells you that in order to become a Christian, you will have to do away with anything that had to do with Yahuwah. The Hebrew Yahuwah, the Mashiach. You know, and you see, this is during the Council of Nicaea when they all came together. And you see, they combined Zeus and Krishna and gave the world the Jesus Christ that you know today. That's what it is. You see, that is the Jesus Christ who has a lot of similarities to who? Krishna. So you call yourself Christians after Krishna. And this is in the Vatican, by the way. Zeus, god of the sky and weather, and the eagle, as in the American, bald eagle. Jesus equals Jesus, because that's who he is. And even tells you in the scriptures, but though we are an angel from heaven, preach you another gospel. So another angel came and gave you another gospel with a different names in it. And that's the one that you guys have today. And you guys think you're going to be raptured off, right? The Christians are going to be raptured off when the Christians were the ones they martyred Daddy's saints and killed them. That's not going to happen.
The original followers of Yahusha the Messiah, Christians, we're about to find out. This is what's known as the Constantine Creed. It was an oath or a creed that you had to take in order to become what is called a Christian in 325 CE. This is shocking when I first read this. He renounced all customs, rites, legalisms, unleavened bread, sacrifices of lambs of the Hebrews, and all the other feasts of the Hebrews. Sacrifices, prayers, aspirations, purifications, sanctifications, propositions, fasts, new moons, Sabbaths, superstitions, hymns, chants, observances, synagogues, absolutely everything Yahudi or Jewish. Every law, every rite, every custom, right? They are told to deny, right? This is an oath that they have to take. They have to deny all the original faith. Look what it says here. Furthermore, any follower of the Jewish Messiah Yahushua HaMashiach. Furthermore, any follower of the Jewish Messiah, Yahushua HaMashiach, who wish to join this holy community is compelled to adopt a different set of rules and customs. Wow, so to become a Christian, they literally had to renounce Yahusha, the Jewish Messiah. Or in other words, Yahudim Messiah. That's the true Hebrew word for Jew. And look what it says here. They accept all customs, rites, legalisms, feasts of the Romans, sacrifices, prayers, purifications with water, sanctifications, propitiations, feasts, and the new Sabbath, which is, in quote, so die, day of the sun, Sunday. So there's proof right there that they changed the Sabbath. All new chants and observances, foods and drinks of the Romans, that would be pig. Look what it says, he absolutely accepts everything Roman, every new law, rite, and custom of Rome and the new Roman religion, which is Christianity. And look what it says, Christians must not Judaize by resting on the Sabbath. To be a Christian, you were literally not allowed to rest on the seventh day, the Sabbath day, but must work on that day, rather honoring the quote-unquote Lord's Day. Wow. Let me know what you guys think of this in the comments. Don't forget to like and follow. I'll see.
America is a Druidic country. Canada is Druidic. Like I said, Western civilization is a Druidic establishment. The Druids were a very powerful priesthood in Europe, even before the Roman Empire existed. And they were the attorneys, the lawyers, the religious leaders, the politicians. It was called the Druidic system. And one of the most important symbols in the Druidic system was a magic wand, like Merlin the magician with his magic wand. And orchestra leaders and conductors use a magic wand. That's a Druid symbol. And the Druid symbol of the magic wand was made out of the wood of a holly tree. It's made out of Hollywood. And the entire establishment in Hollywood is a Druidic system. So if you don't understand Druidic symbols, you'll never know what's going on in Hollywood and where they're being financed, who's financing them, and how this stuff really works in relation to government.
So another thing, they told the Christians and the believers that they will be raptured out of here, that nothing's going to happen to you, because it's a lie, because the Jesuit created the rapture. It's a gathering of his people. That you'll find that in the reading of Micah 4, one of the books they removed. Of course it did. And it tells you that Daddy will gather his dispossessed people, right? His punished people, and bring them back to Mount Zion. And then he will return everything that they did to his people back to our enemies. So there is no rapture. And again, the Christians and the Catholics were the ones that got drunk on the blood of the saints. Okay? So Trump is also holding a picture of the temple. Well, the temple is the body. And the head is where Daddy sits, the pineal gland. So when they said that they want to do the third temple, that means that they're going to put the chip. You see how the temple looks just like a chip inside the body? Metal meets clay. This is what it is. Okay, this is the temple. See how it looks like a computer chip? And you see how Trump, was holding the image of the temple, the third temple. Okay, this is the AI system that you're going to be connected to, that they're going to connect the people to. That's what it is. It's not a physical building that they're building. We're the temple. Yahuwah lives inside us.
Beekeepers are given all resources, empowered to act on their own judgment outside the system.
Sure you want to do this, honeybee?
This was first created by the Catholic Church. This is not what I was referring to, but this is correct. What I was referring to was around the 1100s during Alexios III's reign, the Catholic Church implemented something that was blood purity. Anyone who was Anglo-Christian was pure blood. Literally everyone else was impure and they were worthy of death. That was the Crusades. But the document of discovery of 1493, this was the Catholic decree that said any Christian that looked like me had the rightful claim of any and all land and waterways in the world. It basically says that all indigenous people are not human. And this is still in effect today. So the Catholic Church believes that if you are black or brown, you are not human. The Catholic Church believes that all land and water belongs to the Anglo-Christian man. And yet, how many of us allies and accomplices are still Christians? Learn up.
Now I name Christianity as an enemy. But let me tell you, missionaries, remember, as red people of the Western Hemisphere, we have respect for our brother's vision. Respect for our brother's vision. Now the American Indian movement, we haven't any quarrel with Christianity as a religion. We only quarrel with the misuse of it. In fact, we have had and continue to have an excellent relationship with the National Council of Churches, the United Methodist Church, the Lutherans, Episcopalians, the World Council of Churches, in which we have joint projects with in different parts of the hemisphere. But the misuse of it, let's take the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not steal. And the biggest landowner on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, the second largest reservation in the country, the biggest landowner is the Catholic Church. Thou shalt honor thy father and thy mother, except you, Indian child, because your father and mother were pagan, primitive savages who believe in witchcraft and worship the devil. How can a small child have pride in his ancestors and in the commandment, thou shalt honor thy father and thy mother? Explain that one to me. Thou shalt not kill. And they kill our unborn. They do not even allow us to be born. Another, just a few examples.
Indian girls for sale. That's what newspapers printed while settlers kidnapped native women and auctioned them off like cattle. In 1850, California passed the Act for the Government and Protection of Indians. The name made it sound like it was meant to help, but in reality, it legalized slavery for native people. The law allowed white settlers to apprentice native children and women, a loophole that let them be kidnapped, forced into unpaid labor, and held captive for years. If a native person was accused of a crime but couldn't pay the fines, settlers could pay it for them and, in exchange, force them into labor. Native people could even be arrested for vagrancy and then auctioned off to white settlers as workers. Once the government made Native people legally available, settlers turned it into business. Raids on Native villages exploded. Men were killed, and women and children, some as young as 10, were kidnapped. The captives were taken to public auctions, where they were sold to the highest bidder for forced labor or sex slavery. Newspapers openly ran ads reading, "Indian girls for sale." These weren't job listings, they were human trafficking ads. California's government didn't stop this. They funded militias to wipe out Native communities, and those who survived were captured and sold into slavery. Even Governor Peter Burnett admitted in 1851 that a war of extermination was happening, and that it wouldn't stop until Native Americans were wiped out. And the worst part, this wasn't just tolerated. It was law for 20 years.
So it tells you in the reading, Ezekiel 37 and 38. 37 is when the dry valley of bones, when we wake up because we were put into a sleep, and now the Spirit came back and woke us up. Because when we were put into a sleep, we were sold to the bad shepherd, which is the Pope. That's why he has the shepherd staff. And we were given these religions, these raw legions of the fallen. And now we wake up, and in the following scripture reading, it tells you that Gog and Magog will be in our lands to take our lands from us again, because now the 400 years are up, so the lands return to us because the Pope holds the deeds to all of our lands, right? And they'll work for him. So Gog and Magog, Russia and China are here, and that's what they're doing right now. They're grabbing the red nation. So you need to stay in covenant. Okay, so as you can see right here, City of London, dragon worship, Native American genocide. That's what they hid, and that's what they're trying to do again. Okay, so excuse me for 1 second. I also covered this before. We are Daddy's people. We are the Hebrews of the scriptures. This is our book that they took from us and made religions out of them. Okay, I explained before the similarities between our people and the people in the book, like the fringes, the blue ribbon on our clothes, our feast days, the moon days, celebrations, even, you see, the Hebrew language, the Native American language, you see, and even the artifacts, they were found in our lands. And these are the names of our prophets, excuse me. And it tells you here, because there are people are being taken to these camps, these FEMA camps. As you can see right here, during the Inquisition, what did they do? But the scripture says they're going to do, they're going to cut your head off, right? And it tells you right here, FEMA camps. For our people, I cannot stress it enough. Please get out of this Babylonian religion system. And yes, the Gentile nations are grafted onto the tree of life. Okay, let's look at the gematria for Christian. It says image of Satan, Nibiru, planet Nibiru, right? Ancient god Ra, Nut, that's a goddess. Titans, skull technology, right? The letter M, that is for the Virgin Mary. That is the apron that the Freemasons wear. Chip implant, image of Satan. I already covered that one. You see? So this is what Christian is. This is Christianity. Philadelphia, which is the Church of Philadelphia, the Loyola, the Boulets. That's what it is. That is the Mason, the Church of Philadelphia. Climate change, Russian, that is Gog and Magog. Okay, Crowley, as Aleister Crowley. There's the Jesus, right? Immortals, those are immortals because they're vampiric races. That's what they are. So, blasphemy. So get out of these fake religions, okay, and come back to Daddy, to the Torah, to his ways, because this is a snare. There's no rapture. There's no rapture, and you're going to get left behind to this demonic system because it's a gathering of his people instead. And again, the Gentile nations are grafted onto real life. The scriptures, it tells you that we shouldn't have a name of a God in our lips. No other gods are God but our God, right? Yahuwah, Yah. And it even tells you there is salvation in no one else. Under all of heaven, there is no other name for man to call upon to save them. So you keep on praying to this so-called Jesus that they gave to the world. There's no salvation in it. I'm telling you. And what makes me so sad that these churches have documented people and programmed them into thinking that you're not going to be here for the beast system because you're going to be raptured out of here, which was the Catholics in Christendom. They killed daddy's children. Isn't the reading of Acts? When they stoned Stephen, they went after the rest of the people, the second kingdom, Jehudah. They went after them and prosecuted them, and they killed them, and they took the book. So that already happened. So you're just waiting for something that's not going to happen. And you know how many people that sat under these churches took the shot because their pastors told them to do it? The church that I used to go when Abba spoke to me, woke me up in 2020, and I left it, that pastor told their congregation to go take it. And he passed away a couple months ago. So because these are your leaders, this is the ones that they're leading you in your faith. And these are the ones that you're believing them blindly. And you're believing in this name that they gave to you. And you're believing you're going to be raptured out of here. So this video is around saying that Trump said that this battle that's happening with Iran is the battle of Armageddon, which is true, which is Gog and Magog. That's the battle. And he was chosen by God, Gadriel, for the second coming of Jesus, which is the Antichrist. Because who's going to come in right now and reign? The Antichrist. That's who he is. That's your Jesus that they gave to the world. And you see how Gog and Magog, Russia and China, they're in our borders, by the way. They're here. Okay, they're attacking Jasharel. And where's Jasharel? The the west coast of America. I'm going to share with that again with you guys. Excuse me for a second. Oh, I'm so sorry. It went too quickly. Give me just 1 second. I apologize. Okay, so like I said, Joshua is on the west coast of America. And what are these people going to say? You see, we're going to come into their nations, capture their booty, and make many slaves of them. Okay, that's what they're doing right now. They're capturing the remnant nations. I know it's going fast, guys, but I will be sharing all these images with you anyway. And like I said, you see, that's Baphomet, as above, so below. And that's their Jesus. That's what he said that he's going to bring in the second coming of Jesus. Well, that's what he's referring to. The AI beast system that they're going to connect people to the machine. That's why he's pushing for AI, all these data centers. They're taking all the waters. Who's behind that? Who's doing that? Trump. So they don't serve the same master we don't serve. So again, guys, get out of her.
Our military commanders are telling our troops who are about to go and die for Israel that, don't worry, this is God's plan, is what they're reportedly saying. This came in from Jonathan Larson, and he says here, at more than 30 military installations, U.S. commanders told troops the war on Iran is a Christian war. The Military Religious Freedom Foundation tells me it's been inundated with complaints from more than 110 service members. One NCO said their commander told them today that the U.S. war is to bring about Armageddon and the return of Jesus. This is what's going on in our military. But apparently, now if you join the military, you're going to go and die for Israel because it's God's plan. The MRFF, which is this is the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, And they are logging these complaints, and they've received over 100 of these complaints. This is one of the complaints saying here, this was just published yesterday. It was published today, but it was a complaint from yesterday, March 2nd, saying, Mr. Weinstein, thank you for taking my calls and the calls of some of my colleagues as to what happened earlier this morning with our combat unit. Please protect my identity and the identities of those I'm speaking for, as we discussed. Our unit is not currently in the combat zone, AOR, regarding the Iranian attacks, but we are in a ready support function. This morning, our commander opened up the combat readiness status briefing by urging us to not be afraid as to what is happening with our combat operations in Iran right now. He urged us to tell our troops that this was all part of God's divine plan. And he specifically referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelation referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. He said that President Trump has been anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to earth. You go all the way up the chain, all the way up to the commander-in-chief, and they're all thinking like this. I mean, this is the narrative that has been pushed, and people, especially Zionist Christians, have been chomping at the bit for this. Zionist Jews have a different viewpoint altogether. They do believe that they're entitled to the land, that God gave them the land. They do believe that they're going to build their third temple. They've got their own set of religious beliefs, but this is uniquely Christian Zionist. Troops who may be deployed to lose their lives for Israel against Iran, and they're being told by their commanders, you're doing this for Jesus. Don't worry, kid. You're doing it for Jesus. These Christian Zionists have this viewpoint because at the end, the Jews all get destroyed because God basically, Jesus comes back and is like, are you converting or not? And if they don't, then it's like, see ya. Our military commanders are telling our
This isn't just about data centers. It's about the materials behind every clean energy promise made in Indian country. Every big solar farm is just a giant copper project in disguise. Even a modest solar field needs hundreds of tons of copper. Plus even more for the lines and the substations to move that power. And a lot of that, copper, nickel, lithium, sits on or upstream from indigenous lands. In northern Minnesota, the Boundary Waters region sits upon a major copper-nickel deposit. Like in Arizona, Oak Flat is a sacred Apache site, but is now being targeted for copper mining. So the same policies that push for renewables or rapid electrification also crank up pressure to open mines in places like Boundary Water or Oak Flats. And that puts indigenous communities in an impossible position. We're asked to support solar, wind, and grid expansion for climate justice. And at the same time, we're asked to accept the mines that supply those minerals on or near our land or water. I'm not against new infrastructure. Energy systems will always change. I'm against pretending it's clean. People are told to support clean energy, but rarely are told how much metal it takes or whose homelands are on the line. Real sovereignty means being honest about the full life cycle, from mining to manufacturing to the grid, and who is expected to bear that cost. Like the video, follow the page. Have a great day.
Hello, my name is Saginaw Grant. They're abusing Mother Earth, digging up our graves. There was a sacred ground, and there were treaties made with these grounds, with these cemeteries, and yet these treaties are being broken, as all treaties have been broken throughout the years. A treaty to a Native person is something very special. Giving your word, it's very serious. We cleanse ourselves before we go to a treaty to know that we are clean when we come before our Creator to make this promise, make this event more sacred. They don't understand. They never have understood this, and they don't today. Our belief is to be peaceful, to help each other, to always respect each other and respect the things that we said to one another. And this is what we would like to teach the people who are abusing my people. It hurts me. I know it hurts our traditional people who are still alive today. There's not many of us left, but we try to keep true to who we believe in and what we believe in. The people up there know that I pray for you. Know that I feel for you. Hurts. Hurts. I just want to say, be strong. Keep your belief in everything that we believe in. Thank you.